This video is going to go against a lot of the advice here on YouTube that teaches you how to play the dating game, the tips, tools, and tricks to compete with men that are testing you, and how to get high value men, how to kind of manipulate that situation. And these kinds of things actually pull you off your own internal integrity, which is what I'm going to unpack today. Because in these 4 specific boundaries that I'll teach you, you're going to learn how to stand in your own authentic sense of self whilst calling in high value people to you in a way that feels natural and comfortable, like you're just being yourself, because they allow you to show up on the dating scene as your true self, which of course is only going to attract other people that are truly compatible to you. Now stick around till the end of the lesson, because the last boundary is the boundary that I used that completely stopped me from attracting emotionally unavailable people, and it's going to do the same for you. And if you're new to this channel, welcome. My name is Amy, and I help women who get anxious in love and attract unhealthy relationship cycles to feel confident and secure and safe in their body so they can go out and date to create a healthy, secure relationship. And if you want more content like this, I'd really love you to subscribe to my channel and click the bell button, because I am posting lessons like this every week. Now, before we begin, I want to let you know that a few places have opened up on my calendar with me and my team for the Love by Design program. If you want to know more about how to apply for that free call, stick around to the end of the lesson. So the first boundary you need to put in place in order to call in high value people is the boundary of self-value, how you value yourself and the boundaries that you place around that to protect your intrinsic sense of self. So this is you placing your physical, emotional, and spiritual needs above any new connection or above any kind of dating situation. And this requires knowledge of self, right? This requires you to know how to meet your own needs when you're on your own. So that requires you to be comfortable with being alone as well and having all of your needs met in that container. And that is really important when you're dating. And this isn't vanity from an insecure place, right? We're not trying to buff ourselves up or anything. This is actually healthy, cultivated self-respect. So from this place, you'll set boundaries around your availability for when a person or place or situation doesn't serve you. You will act on that. You will say no in a way that works for you and the situation. So self-value boundaries on a surface level are going to look like how you cultivate and look after your physical appearance, how you look after yourself physically and meet those needs, and how you manage your energy levels, right? If you know you're going to be tired on a Friday evening after work, you don't set a date for that, because you need your energy to yourself. And it's also being intentional about how available you're willing to be at every step of the dating process. And if you want a video on how to set and pace things to manage your energetic levels, I want you to watch this video next. Now, at a deeper level, boundaries around self-value are really areas of awareness that you're not going to override your sense of self in order to boost someone else's ego. You're not devaluing or throwing yourself under the bus for the sake of the situation or for the conversation. And in reverse, you're not bringing people down around you in order to feel better about yourself or to show yourself in a better light, right? You're not playing that game of control. And that includes playing the victim blame game as well, which only serves to cultivate internal shame. Anytime you paint yourself as a victim or blame another person, what comes in is internal shame, and that is going to take out any boundaries of self-value that you would hold yourself to. So you want to choose the higher value path in all situations, which is compassion, discernment, knowing what is and isn't okay for you, and standing up and advocating for your needs and for the situation as it stands. You know, being ready to act and not tolerate certain things, but not being overtly pushy or rigid about it as well. Now, I love to model these things rather than tell people how to do things. And in my day-to-day life, when I'm not teaching on this channel, you know, I really try and model this high value energy, which is where I just enact these higher value qualities. And what I've found is that this acts as a magnet to attune in and bring people to me that also naturally come to life from that same high value perspective. The second boundary that you can put in place to call in high value men and people is a boundary of authentic communication. This is where you really hold space for your own authentic experience as it changes moment to moment, and you hold yourself to integrity to communicate that as much as is appropriate for the situation. You know, while you're on a date with someone, you're also holding space to allow yourself to notice what you're feeling in the moment and to let yourself express that authentically as it happens. And this includes committing to integrity in your words. This is a really tricky one, and I struggle with this too, that when you speak, you are speaking from a place that is as true as you know things to be for you in that moment, rather than just speaking to fill the space or to, get through some awkward tension. You really want to give yourself space and pause and put thought into the language and words that you use when you're holding this boundary. And a great way to start practicing this is to commit to this kind of authentic communication just in your day-to-day life, right? Where it's easier to set boundaries. Perhaps you're at the shops, perhaps you're going to get a coffee with a friend. Just commit to really holding a space for your authentic experience and expressing that in an intentional way, using language that accurately reflects what you're really experiencing. And we also want to hold a space for others to do that around us. And when we're dating, hold a space for them to really drop into their authentic. Now, if you're dating someone who's in their masculine, it takes them some time to really open up. It's like a very, very deep well. So a great feminine practice is to keep asking if there's anything more, rather than to kind of insert yourself in after they've said something to keep the conversation going. Just hold a space, be willing to sit in silence with them as they keep digging deeper to get out and articulate what their authentic experience is. Now, some really specific boundaries you're going to set in order to hold yourself to authentic communication is to absolutely stop any kind of people pleasing that you might engage in. And that includes the words, and that includes any kind of energy, how you choose to spend your time. So no intentional fawning, so no excessive compliments, right? And no manipulative communication or energy, and no misrepresentation of self. Now, the level at which you can communicate authentically to another person is directly reflected to the level at which you can communicate within yourself and know yourself deeply and authentically. So the more you can get to know and experience and hold space for your own, what you're experiencing, that will allow you to then communicate it. And I have a great principle that teaches that, which I call the 50-50 rule, and you can learn more about that in this video here. Now, I'd love to know if you have any questions about these types of boundaries and these principles around boundary setting. What's working for you? Would you like me to do a follow-on video? Please let me know in the comments below. Now, the third boundary you want to set in order to call in high-value people is a boundary around time. Time is an incredibly valuable aspect of our life, and we can never get it back. And I know those of you that are new to boundaries and you've just started setting them, you kind of probably feel like you wish you could get back time so you could set them more effectively in the past. And we don't want to live in the past. We now are empowered to do this in the future. So one way to set a boundary around time when you're dating is to be really realistic about the time it takes to get to know someone truly, authentically, how they really are, not just when they're putting their best foot forward. And if you're looking at your past thinking you have spent too much time with the wrong kinds of people in unhealthy relationships, you've probably felt that you've lost a bit of time there, but at the start of those relationships, you rushed into the relationship, right? So now in the dating stages, this is the time to take time to stretch it out, because it does take quite a reasonable amount of time to get to know someone's deeper core values based on their actions, not just their words, and how they choose to intentionally spend their time. So look at your past partners, look at how long it took for you to see their true colors, as it were. Was it, 6 to 8 weeks, or was it 3 to 6 months? Use this as a yardstick now to, have in the back of your mind that what you're seeing in this person that you're dating is great, but it's not the full story. And it's going to take X amount of time for you to truly see that. Now, if you struggle with pacing and really taking things slowly in the dating stages, you'll really get a lot out of watching this video on the 5 stages of dating in order to set the pace effectively. So a more specific boundary you might set around time in order to, protect yourself around a physical connection, if you choose to sleep with a person, before that, you need to ensure that there is safety in the connection, there's trust, there's mutual respect. So think about how long it takes to actually know truly that that person can be trusted, is respectful of others, and is a safe person to share your body with. And a great way to do that is to think of a friendship, right? How long does it take for you to get to know a person as a friend and know that those pieces are in place? It might be around 6 to 8 weeks, so that might be a good yardstick for you to set in terms of a time boundary for when you sleep with them. And then in order to enter a relationship, right, you need to identify their deeper core values, and you're going to do that through their actions, not just their words, right? Words are cheap, as it were. It's really easy to say certain things. And when you're dating, discernment is about seeing how a person's words and actions line up. So how long does it take for you to get to know someone by observation of what they're doing, that they're playing out their core values that they say that they have, and what their goals are according to how they use their time? And that's going to be a couple of months. It's going to be, leaning towards the good 6-month mark. Now, holding a time boundary in this way is going to automatically disqualify any people that are emotionally unavailable, any people that don't have that internal discipline or self-awareness, and they're just not good with delayed gratification. So setting a time boundary is a very, very useful boundary to use in order to, really repel people that just aren't willing to stick with you for that period of time. And of course, it takes a certain level of self-discipline on your part too, and that is going to let you know how available you are to yourself to make sure that your safety, respect, and trust needs are actually being met before you jump into bed with a person. Now, it's really worth saying here that obviously this boundary is going to really screen and really call in a high value person that is willing to wait, to take that time. And they've hopefully set that boundary for themselves as well because they know their needs. And it's a direct reflection of their interest in you, that they're willing to wait and have that boundary in place and be respectful of your needs and hold their needs at a high level as well. So you can only know that they're really interested in you, they're high value, that they're willing to wait those 3 to 6 months for a relationship, those 6 to 8 weeks for sex, whatever that time frame is for you. Take it as a really great sign. Now, the last boundary is the boundary of polarity, and you might not have heard this term, but this is the boundary that has kept emotionally unavailable people permanently out of my life. Now, polarity is an attraction concept that it transcends gender. So polarity is where you have someone in their feminine and someone in their masculine, and someone who's deeply in their feminine, deeply in their masculine is going to create this kind of magnetized attraction to each other. And that is where attraction occurs. And it doesn't matter what gender, where on the gender spectrum you are, polarity is a natural law that happens between two people where there is that kind of attraction. Now, I work and teach in the feminine, and in relationship, we're wanting to call in someone in their masculine. So learning how to hold a boundary to stay in your feminine is going to work to attract someone in their masculine. Interestingly, this directly reflects on their own internal emotional availability. Now, this is how it works. Insecurities internally cause an imbalance of polarity, right? So let me explain that. If you are a woman who has always felt the need to be more masculine in order to, save face or hold a space in a masculine work environment or a, overtly patriarchal society that we all live in, you will be in an imbalance internally. You'll be more in your masculine. Now, if you sit in your masculine when you're dating, when you're wanting to attract people and trying to impress other men by being in your masculine, you will, chances are, be attracting in more feminine men, perhaps, because by trying to impress a guy or by trying to impress a person that's in their masculine, by out-masculining them, you are emasculating them. It doesn't work for attraction at all, outmanning them. It actually works to repel them. And I heard someone the other day liken it to if you're a woman and you love your feminine and a guy walks up to you and he's in his feminine as well, you're going to immediately think that he's, not a contender for you. Perhaps you might think that he's not even interested in women, right? So it works in the same way. We don't want to be in our masculine to attract a masculine person. So you want to hold your boundary to commit to deepening your feminine energy and your feminine presence. And this is where you're being really creative and expressive and passionate. And chances are you've been told that you're too much when you're in this at some point. And you've been told that by someone who is wounded in their energy. They haven't been in their masculine deeply enough to hold a container, to hold a space for all of your feminine. You are not going to be too much for a high value person who's in their masculine, who knows their shadows and their wounds, and they have big hands to hold a container for you to be in all of your feminine. So this is what we're trying to attract. So deepening your feminine energy and your feminine practices will allow you to do that. And that just looks like you expressing yourself fully in the moment and you really diving into all of your creative projects and endeavors. And when you're with a person, when you're dating, and this feeling of delight overcomes you, let it overcome you and let it come out fully. And of course, you're going to do that in a paced way, right? You don't want to release and let all of your feminine energy out to someone that you barely know. They're true gifts of yourself that you get to show when you're ready to show them. But I want you to practice this deepening when you're interested in calling in someone who's in their masculine. Now, when you're solo, when you're on your own, it's completely natural to flicker between your inner feminine and masculine. We have both the yin and the yang internally within us. So when you're at work, if you run your own business, you will need to be in your masculine. Sometimes you'll be needing to set boundaries and do all of those masculine practices as well. But on the dating scene, I really want you to set this boundary, to hold yourself to a standard, to allow yourself to release into your feminine. So I just want to reiterate that point, that emotionally unavailable people hold wounds that they're unaware of that affects their polarity. Okay, so let's take a wounded man who has some wounds that were created by his mother, her emotional unavailability to him. He will have a mother wound. And that means that his feminine is going to be out of imbalance. He's going to be acting from a wounded feminine place when he's in conflict, because he's subconsciously trying to heal that wound in expressing it. He hasn't come to open up that wound to himself, and he isn't comfortable holding a space for it. So you'll notice this if you're in a relationship with someone who's wounded in their feminine, that when they're in conflict, they're just as heightened emotionally as you and your feminine are, and there is a massive clash there, and there is certainly not that healthy conflict that you want to have. So today I've shown you these 4 specific boundaries on how to call in high value men, but there is a lot more work that can be done internally within us to create a secure relationship. Now I have a proven 3-step process to do that, and I teach it in my masterclass, the proven 3 steps to secure love. And you can join me in that masterclass in the link below. I also have a free Facebook group. It's a great way for us to meet and connect and communicate. So if you'd like to join me in there, the link to that is in the description as well. If you'd like to submit your application for the free one-to-one with me and my team, my calendar link is below. You can go ahead and find a time with me there. Please comment below if you found this lesson helpful, or if you have any questions. There was quite a lot in today's lesson, so I would love to hear from you in the comments below. And again, if you found the video helpful, clicking like is going to help this channel out in the algorithm, so that would be wonderful. And if you do love this kind of content, click the subscribe button, because I am posting lessons every week. And for now, here are some next step videos for you to watch so that you can move one step closer to an incredible relationship with yourself and with your partner. And for now, I will see you in the next video.